Maybe. There's nothing that is in the statute that prohibits the leasing of an HOA or a condominium. Many associations allow rentals and tenancies, and many that do allow those, they put restrictions on those. And as long as the restrictions do not violate any type of housing laws, in other words, if somebody were to say, well, we'll allow you to rent, but you can't rent to any particular religious group. Certainly that would be an illegal term, and the declaration would not be enforceable. But they can put reasonable and legal restrictions in there. To give you an example, I had represented an association where the restriction was they didn't want short-term leasing, so it would turn into like some type of resort because it's very close to the ocean and almost had a resort feel to it. But the owners did not want short-term rentals, and so there was a restriction saying that the minimum term for any lease would be 6 months, so you couldn't rent it out over the weekend or for a month, and have different tenants coming in and out of the association. So certainly there can be restrictions. There's some interesting case law in regard to what kind of restrictions you can have on tenants regarding criminal history and criminal background, because there's case law that stands for the proposition that yeah, people may have been convicted of a crime, but they still have to have the opportunity to be able to live places. On the flip side, there's law that states that an association can regulate that kind of activity, but the documents have to be drafted very, very carefully, and it takes a high degree of sophistication to be able to limit the types of tenants that you can have, and have those limitations be upheld when they're challenged. So typically associations will allow for rentals. Sometimes they just outright ban them, and you have to know that before you move in, and there's nothing inherently illegal about an association saying, no, you're not going to be able to, you're the owner, but you can't lease your property out. It's just kind of the way it is, and you know that before you move in. But typically that's not the case. But usually when they are allowed, there are restrictions that are within either the declaration of covenants or condominiums or the rules and regulations when it comes to restrictions on tenancies.